بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واتبعوا ما تتلو الشياطين على ملك سليمان وما كفر سليمان ولكن الشياطين كفروا يعلمون الناس السحر وما أنزل على الملكين ببابل هاروت وماروت وما يعلمان من أحد حتى يقولا إنما نحن فتنة فلا تكفر فيتعلمون منهما ما يفرقون به بين المرء وزوجه وما هم بضارين به من أحد إلا بإذن الله ويتعلمون ما يضرهم ولا ينفعهم ولقد علموا لمن اشتراه ما له في الآخرة من خلاق ولبئس ما شروا به أنفسهم لو كانوا يعلمون صدق الله العظيم. Regarding ayat number 102 of Surat al-Baqarah, the discussion related to Harut and Marut, the two angels. They were sent as a test to the people of Babel or Babylon. And their test was that they would tell anyone that wanted to learn sihr that we are a trial, we are a test for you. So do not do kufr, do not disbelieve, do not learn these dark arts, do not practice the dark arts. But if the people insisted, so Harut and Marut would teach them. Amongst the various dangerous things that they were taught or they would teach, one of them was the separation between spouses, the husband and wife. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this the first relationship and connection in human history. Relationship between a man and a woman, Adam alayhi salam and our mother Hawa radiyallahu anha. And this relationship through nikah, if this is built on proper foundations, it can become a means of sakina, it can become a means of tranquility. And in essence, that becomes life. In the ayat of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah Ar-Rum, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُمْ, and amongst the ayat and signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that He has created for you أنفسكم, from you, أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها, He has created for you spouses. لتسكنوا إليها, it's two meanings. One, that you may live with one another. The second meaning is that you may gain sakina and tranquility from one another or from your spouse. لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put between you this type of compassion and love and mercy. So if this relationship is taken care of and it is proper and it is healthy, then that can become a very, very healthy house, a very proper house, a house where someone can find sakina and tranquility. A few examples have already been given. The greatest example, that of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that when the Quraysh opposed him and the kuffar, they turned on him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him a very, very great support at home. His wife, our mother al-Mu'mineen, Khadijatul Kubra radiyallahu anha, she was a very, very great support for him. And through that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him great bounties and great favors, and also peace of mind. But when it comes to sakina and tranquility, what is necessary and what is needed is a type of equilibrium, a kind of balance in life. It cannot be that one side is demanding rights and the other side is not given a single right. There has to be balance. There has to be a kind of equilibrium. Then there can be tranquility. Whenever the equilibrium and the balance is taken off, so then there will be no sakina, there will be no tranquility. It is easy to understand when we are walking, when we're moving. So long as what we're walking on is stable, then we're okay. But if ever we walk on something that is not stable or the ground shakes, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us like that of an earthquake, then that equilibrium, that balance is broken and that tranquility is gone. People begin to panic. So similarly, so long as there's a balance, then it works. Once that balance is broken, so when spouses respect one another and they fulfill each other's rights, husband has his rights, wife have her rights, those rights have to be learned, then yes, there can be sakina, there can be tranquility. But in any society or in any situation where one side's rights are not being fulfilled, then often a time, or in most cases, there's no tranquility, and that can become even more stressful for those parties who are involved. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also made wahi or revelation a means of balance within the human being. Specifically the Quran, the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran in Surat Al-Ra'd that the believers, they are those الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, they are those who believe. وَتَطْمَئِنُّ قُلُوبُهُمْ بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. One of their many qualities is that their hearts find this equilibrium, this itminan, this tranquility, this balance in the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبِ. Definitely with the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hearts become calm, they become balanced. So the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a very broad meaning, but the greatest dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is kalamullah, this Quran. In the Quran you find the great adhkar, la ilaha illallah and subhanallah, and all the other adhkar, they're there in the Quran. But the Quran is kalamullah, it is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the past also, wahi and revelation, this was a means of sakina, a means of tranquility. So when the sahirin or the magicians, they distorted the ayat, rather than becoming a means of itminan, rather than becoming a means of tranquility and calmness, when you distort that system, it creates stress and confusion and chaos. So this is what the sahirin, they were famous for. And this is one of the things that they do. The sahiri is able to create a kind of chaos using his sihr or magic. This is the essence of dark arts. We've already gone over the other types of sihr, the other types of magic. You have the illusion of the eyes, you have the psychic, these are different types. But coming to the sihr itself, the dark arts itself, they're used to break the balance and break the calmness within either a person or a society. And they create a kind of chaos within a person. A kind of stress, very, very deep, harmful stress. So that person is pushed to levels of stress which cause very, very, very great harm. And we know the dangers of stress. People come home often at time where they have stressful work. If they bring that stress home, they can create chaos at home. It's always good to calm down. Even you come to the masjid for salah, it's always good to calm down before you pray the salah. Otherwise your whole salah you'll be somewhere else. So that is why that calmness is necessary. So this sihr creates that kind of chaos, that kind of stress, so that when that stress is caused, it can break up even relationships. This is why majority of the relationships are broken with these arguments and fights, and both parties become angry, and in anger they do things. And then sometime later on they regret. A kind of break happens. This is the chaos that happens. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that this is what Harut and Marut, they were teaching the people. Amongst the various other effects that sihr may have, وَيَتَعَلَّمُونَ مِنْهُمَا مَا يُفَرِّقُونَ بِهِ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَزَوْجِهِ. They were causing this kind of chaos, this break, this separation between husband and wife. Other aspects of this type of sihr that we know. And there was a magician at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam who did sihr on Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and then it caused him to start forgetting the Quran. And we know about memory. One of the things about memory is that In order to remember, a person has to be in a calm state. It becomes stressed out. Even very important information we forget. It happens. Sometimes very, very important things in a stressful situation, person forgets very important things. So this is the kind of sihr that one of the sahirin he did. And the sihr often at times, the way that sihr works, and we will try to go briefly, but one of the ways that sihr works is that the sahir has to have some part of your body. It can be a hair, it can be a nail, it can be a piece of skin. It has to be a particular length, at least minimum amount. It has to be a particular length. And that piece of your body has had to have been on your body at least in the past 40 days. After 40 days, you can't do sihr on it. It doesn't work. So, your nails or your hair. So sahir, he will try his best to get his hands on some part of you. And you do sihr on that. In the case of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the sahir had gotten a hold of the hair of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Then the sahir took that hair and tied it with other knots. In a string they tied knots. And each of those knots, the sahir was reciting the words of sihr. And that is how Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he was then affected by sihr and he started forgetting ayat of the Quran. Then that sahir, after he blew on those knots, he threw those knots in a well. And it was a dry well. He threw it inside the well and the sihr was, the effect was there. So after some time, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was then given wahy and revelation. And he was given the mu'awwadhatayn, which is قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ and قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. And he was told to recite them and he recited them. And that sihr, it was gone, but also through the effect of mu'awwadhatayn, he was also shown where those knots were, in which well. So then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam sent Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu and one of the Sahabi, and they went down to the well and they brought those knots. And one knot was open while they were reciting particular ayat of the Quran and also mu'awwadhatayn. So once those knots were open, then the effect was gone also. And there was a particular way to open it. If you don't know how to deal with sihr, don't take matters into your own hands. Then you find any knots and you start opening, you make the sihr even worse. Okay, there's particular ayat you have to recite, particular way they're recited. Even in mu'awwadhatayn, particularly قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. In the recitation of that, the ayah, وَمِن شَرِّ النَّفَّاثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ. So we seek the refuge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the naffathat, those that blow, or the witches particularly, that blow fil uqad, on the knots. So you cite that ayah a particular amount of times and so on. There are many, many other ayat in the Quran. It is a particular system that has been made from the ayat of the Quran that it is recited. And once that is recited over anybody even affected by sihr, so then the sihr is finished, the sihr is gone. You recite Surah Al-Fatiha, you recite the first 5 ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah, you recite this ayat number 102, and in 102, you recite the Jumla وَمَا هُمْ بِضَارِّينَ بِهِ مِنْ أَحَدٍ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. So this sentence, which is the next sentence that we'll be doing, that is again recited multiple amount of times, particular number of times. Particular parts of Surah Al-Fatiha are recited multiple times. Then Ayatul Kursi is recited. In Ayatul Kursi, وَلَا يَؤُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا is recited multiple times. And depending on who's doing the ruqyah, and then there are many, many other ayat. There's a list of ayat. The ending of Surah Al-Baqarah, there are ayat in Surah Al-A'raf, ayat in Surah Yunus, ayat in Surah Taha, and then there are particular ayat also in Surah Al-Qalam. Then you recite the mu'awwadhatayn, and in mu'awwadhatayn you recite particular ayat multiple times. In each of those places, there are particular ayat, particular parts of ayat, not just sometimes the whole ayah, but particular parts of an ayah. They're recited multiple times. So depending on who's doing the ruqyah, first the assessment is made how the sihr is affecting a person. Not every case is sihr. Be very, very clear. Sihr is very rare. Not that every person you find is sick or every relationship you find is breaking, that this is sihr. Very rare. It's not a very common phenomenon. It's not like sahirin sit there all day, they have nothing better to do. Okay? Many of them do it for money, many of them do it for power, many of them have their own reasons why they're doing sihr. Okay, so, but they have to have a particular reason, then yes, they'll do sihr. There are rare cases you find sometimes. But once that is, you find the person affected by sihr, there's a particular way to know what kind of sihr is done and what the effect of that sihr is. Okay, then once that assessment is made, and we always encourage that you find an expert, someone who knows how to deal with that, how to do the ruqyah, how to find if it is sihr or not. Once that assessment is made and it is found that there is sihr, then there's ruqyah. Then you resort to ruqyah. Okay? People have made a business out of this because as human beings, we have a knack for taking advantage of people who don't know. This has happened in the world where some people, not all of them, there are many shuyukh that are very sincere. There are some who have made a business out of this. They prey on the ignorance of the people. So someone will come to them and tell them, I'm always having headaches, or I'm always having this kind of physical ailment, or there's some relationship problems, and then this person will start, there's this sahir who did sihr on you, and he buried it in some grave, and he did this to you, and you make up some story, and then he'll tell the person, okay, you have to bring these items, bring this type of bakhur, and bring this type of candle, and you bring this, make this long story, and at the end, sahir, this person who's supposed to be doing the ruqyah will tell the person, okay, you pay me this much money and I'll get rid of it for you. And they give money, good amount of money. And then once that happens, the person obviously is not cured. So after 1-2 weeks comes back, says, the problem has started again. This person says, the sahir found out. And he found out that you did ruqyah. So he has done even more powerful sihr, and now we have to do again. And this person is doing nothing but ripping the people off, making money off of them. Be very, very careful of these kind of people. Sometimes they will make you go through this long system that, you have to, for these many days or these many weeks, you do this kind of treatment, and then we will do this, and we will do. In the end, they take so much money from the people. Well, all they're doing is they're preying on the ignorance of people. Many of the shuyukh that we have found that are sincere and whose ruqyah are very, very effective, we have rarely ever found them to accept any kind of money or even any kind of gift. Some of the shuyukh, even people bring them food or gifts, they say, no, not for this, I cannot take. They say, not for helping you. We take the gift as because it's a sunnah to accept gift, but not for helping you. They very, very strict, and this is also from the ayat of the Quran and from the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and the sunnah of Sahaba radiallahu anhu. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu and the Ahlul Bayt and many of the other Sahaba radiallahu anhu, whenever they would help someone, they would not expect anything in return. So much so they would even very, very clearly tell them that la nuridu minkum jaza'an wa la shukura. These verses, these words of the Sahaba are even mentioned in the Quran. That we don't even want any thanks from you. Forget gift. Gift is we don't even want you to say thank you to us. Because whatever we're doing for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help you. So yes, you find those kind of shuyukh that are sincere, you'll see what kind of effect their ruqyah will have. Even the sahir does 100 times more powerful sihr or 100 sihr on you, that shaykh will not let you go until you are not only, the ruqyah is taught to you, but they will also teach you the specific ayat to read by yourself, so that sihr doesn't affect you again. So be careful who you go to, be careful who you get ripped off by, because sometimes in our ignorance we're ready to trust anyone. Okay, so be very, very careful with this. Many of the shuyukh, they're very, very careful. They make dua for the person, they teach the people ayat of the Quran, and it works right away. But they don't take anything, not even 1 penny, and not even gifts. And they'll tell, even if they accept the gift, they'll tell you very clearly, not for helping you. So this is from amongst the things, the effects of sihr, and also how to get rid of sihr. And there's particular ruqyah. We will not do it on camera, we will not recite those ayat. We had there was a group of our students who were sitting there, so our shaykh, he started reciting. In the ulum, in the alim course, when you get to one point in the ulum al-Islamiyah, which is studying the ulum of the Quran, specifically the Tafseer, Quran and Hadith and Sunnah. So there is one portion where you learn the ruqyah. And in order to learn the ruqyah, you have to be given ijazah of the ruqyah, you have to be given permission to, particularly how to recite it. So the shaykh recites the ruqyah in front of you. So mashallah, we were all students sitting there, and the shaykh started and he was reading. And when he finished reading and reciting, one of the students was, going like this, dizzy, So you the shaykh continued. After he finished, he gave everybody water to drink. And when that student drank it, mashallah, he fainted, unconscious, The shaykh said, this student has been affected by sihr. This is how you know. So the shaykh recited some ayat on him and, woke him up. And after that, he was okay. And the shaykh told him, you need to particularly for these many days recite these ayat, inshallah, you'll be fine. Come back next week, you're going to come back tomorrow and we'll have to do this majlis again. The next day we came again, we had the majlis and the person was much better. So the student was much better. Only students were in that group. So that is why we will not recite it on the video. Maybe somebody watches it, mashallah, they faint and we don't know what to do, so we'll not be there to help out, or the shuyukh will not be there. So just for the safety of anyone who might be seeing this, just be, the ayat are there. If you want to learn, inshallah, please contact the shuyukh and the ulama, and inshallah they'll go over it with you. Do not attempt to do this by yourself. Don't sit there and recite the ruqya on yourself if you don't know what you're doing, please. Other than that, you can recite the mu'awwadhatayn, you can recite Ayatul Kursi. These are very, very effective. They will protect you. Recite Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq, recite Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. There's particular hadith related to reciting Qul huwallahu ahad, Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq, and Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas 3 times in the morning and 3 times in the evening. It will protect you from any kind of harm. There's particular hadith about this and the protection of it, that it will protect you from sihr and from evil eye and from many of these other things. So this is the effect that Harut and Marut, they were tasked with becoming as a means of test for the people. They were teaching how to cause the separation between husband and wife, how to affect people psychologically, push people through stress, causing stress in them, causing this chaos in them. Sometimes people become sick, people lose their memory, people go through various kinds of conditions because of sihr and magic. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then makes one thing very, very clear in the next ayah. وَمَا هُمْ بِضَارِّينَ بِهِ مِنْ أَحَدٍ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. They were never causing harm to anyone except with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is why it is very, very important that as believers, we do not fear the sihr. We should turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seek His protection. Okay, this becomes a test itself in the life of a person. If a person is affected by sihr, then this means there's a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that what our reaction is. It's just like any other sickness. Magic, when a person is affected by sihr, this is considered like any other kind of sickness. And what happens in times of sickness? A person has to show sabr, a person has to take medicine, a person has to go through the system of the ayat and also take the medication and go through experts and get cured. Okay? So similarly, when a person is affected by sihr, turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make dua, and find the shuyukh and sit with them, ask them to do the ruqya on you, to recite Quran. Turn to the Quran, recite the Quran. It's very, very effective. And the sihr will be gone. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned this, that they're not able to cause harm to anyone, regardless of whatever kind of sihr was taught. As we know that Harut and Marut, they were testing, as a means of test, they were teaching the people. وَيَتَعَلَّمُونَ مِنْهُمَا مَا يُفَرِّقُونَ بِهِ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَزَوْجِهِ وَمَا هُمْ بِضَارِّينَ بِهِ مِنْ أَحَدٍ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. They were not able to cause harm to anyone except with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيَتَعَلَّمُونَ مَا يَضُرُّهُمْ وَلَا يَنْفَعُهُمْ. And Harut and Marut, they were teaching, and the people were learning such things that would only cause them harm and not benefit them. When it comes to sihr itself, the sahir, the person doing the magic, doing the dark arts, they destroy themselves more than the person that they want to destroy. Don't think that it's only one-sided. The sahir themselves also, many times, they become very, very despicable people, very despised people. Not only that, they know that they're destroying their akhirah. The shayateen, these devils, they're very, very clever. When they teach someone sihr, they make it clear to them that there is an akhirah and you have no portion in it. The person has to agree to this first. So the person who's doing sihr, they're harming themselves much more than anyone they may be able to do sihr to. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes this very, very clear that they were only learning how to harm people, not benefit, وَلَا يَنْفَعُهُمْ, not give any kind of benefit to anyone with this type of sihr, with this kind of magic. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then further tells us, وَلَقَدْ عَلِمُوا لَمَنِ اشْتَرَاهُ مَا لَهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنْ خَلَاقٍ. And anyone that was learning this sihr, they knew very, very clearly that they would not have any portion in the akhirah. When it came to the akhirah, they were lost. They knew that they were going to the fire of Jahannam. This is every sahir, he knows. The shayateen makes this very, very clear to the sahir. But the sahir, they want, the magician, they want the power of this dunya, they want the power of this world. Through illusions and through whatever else they're seeking. So they know that they've lost their akhirah. وَلَقَدْ عَلِمُوا لَمَنِ اشْتَرَاهُ. And they knew that whosoever would buy this sihr, whoever would deal in this kind of sihr, and whoever would buy this type of dark arts, sell their soul to the devil for these dark arts, مَا لَهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنْ خَلَاقٍ. They will not have any portion in the akhirah. وَلَبِئْسَ مَا شَرَوْا بِهِ أَنفُسَهُمْ. Very terrible was what bargain they made, what kind of business they made. Very, very terrible was what they bought. This kind of bargain that they made with the devils, and even till today, Sahirin, that they learn this, they make a very, very terrible bargain. As I mentioned, the shayateen, they don't teach someone just like that. The person sells their soul to shaitan. Shaitan demands the person to become very, very disgraced, very, very despicable, very, very terrible person. So very, very terrible kind of bargain. لَبِئْسَ مَا شَرَوْا بِهِ أَنفُسَهُمْ لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ. Very terrible was what they bought for themselves. If they only knew or they only understood. So this is the aspect of sihr and magic itself. The effect of how it works. And along with that, the main reasons for why people learn sihr. They want power. But the protection from all of this sihr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us in His deen, in this beautiful deen of Islam, in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ayat of the Quran, in the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, there are particular ad'iyah. There are particular dua you find in various hadith related to protection and protecting oneself. And we should also learn those ayat, we should recite those ayat, we should make it part of our daily adhkar. To recite these ayat of the Quran, the mu'awwadhatayn, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. Make this part of your life. Recite it every morning, recite it after every salah. Make this part of your daily recitation. You'll see how much protection Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you. Not just from sihr. You will also find it as a means of protection from jealous people. You'll find it a means of protection from the evil eye. And from many, many other things. It's very, very effective. So this we should bring into our daily life. Also Ayatul Kursi is very, very effective. Surat Al-Fatiha is very, very effective. So learn these ayat, recite them on a daily basis. There are other ayat from the ahadith you can learn. We can memorize those other ayat for protection and recite them. You'll find how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will protect us. But just remember one very, very clear thing, that the purpose of all of this magic is to cause fear. So that people are afraid of them. Never be afraid. There's nothing to fear. At the end of the day, everything is in the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even the harm they want to cause, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows it. So just turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and He will protect us. We should never ever be afraid of this kind of power, or this kind of whatever they may try to do to cause fear to us. Never be afraid. Many of these sahirin, they threatened the Anbiya alayhim as-salam with this. They threatened the prophets with this, that we will do this kind of magic to you and we'll make you mad and we'll do this to you and that to you. And the Anbiya alayhim as-salam will tell them very clearly, إِنِّي تَوَكَّلْتُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. I have my trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever you people want to do, go ahead. You cannot do anything. The cure for all of this, number one, put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. And you will see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will protect you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us understanding and give all of us the tawfiq to practice His deen. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم نور قلوبنا بالقرآن وزين أخلاقنا بالقرآن ونجنا من النار بالقرآن وأدخلنا في الجنة بالقرآن. اللهم اجعل القرآن لنا في الدنيا قرينا وفي القبر مونسا وعلى الصراط نورا وفي الجنة رفيقا ومن النار سترا وحجابا. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.